China National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it is silent at this time. Everyone stood up, stood quietly under the huge screen of the Space Center, looking at the picture just returned from the International Space Station. They were shocked and dumbfounded. The vast and endless universe, dark and cold is the only theme, but just now, the International Space Station sent a very shocking picture. In the endless loneliness of the universe, the 9 behemoths are motionless, as if they have been there in the past, making people feel the endless desolation and longevity. It turned out to be 9 black dragon corpses, just like the dragons in ancient myths and legends. With such advanced science today, who would believe that the legendary dragon actually exists? And what shocked everyone even more was that the tails of the 9 dragon corpses were all tied with black iron cables, and they connected to the dark space behind the 9 dragon corpses. There is a huge bronze coffin quietly hanging there. The bronze giant coffin is simple and unpretentious, with some vague ancient patterns on it, full of the vicissitudes of the years, and I don't know how many years have been floating in the endless universe. And the picture that appeared on the huge screen of the Space Center was 9 black dragons, pulling a giant bronze coffin. 9 dragons pulling the coffin, arrived on Earth today, and kept flying around the ground, but did not land, seems to be waiting for some kind of inspiration. After a long period of silent panic, everyone in the aerospace agency was in a mess, and the sound of telephone calls one after another. And among the panicked crowd, a young man in a white shirt also looked at the shocking picture of 9 dragons pulling the coffin on the huge screen, and took a deep breath. After waiting so long, it's finally here. The young man walked back to his desk, picked up the car key, and walked out. System, call up newbie tasks. Ding, a novice mission. Sign in at Mount Tai Feng Chan Terrace when the 9 dragons pull the coffin descends on the earth. Ding, the system has detected that 9 dragons is pulling the coffin and it has officially arrived on earth. Please rush to Taishan to sign in as soon as possible. If you successfully sign in, you can get system rewards. 9 dragons pull the coffin, Dengtian Road, step on the song, cover the sky with your fingers. Lin Feng has been waiting for this day since he crossed this world 5 years ago, and now the time is finally ripe. Lin Feng strode towards the parking lot, and at this moment, a bald middle-aged man stopped in front of Lin Feng with a somewhat unkind expression. Lin Feng, can you see how busy everyone is? You are still so leisurely, still holding the car keys. Why, are you in a hurry to get off work? Hey, if you leave today, don't come to work tomorrow. The bald middle-aged man looked angry, but Lin Feng just pushed him away slightly. Follow you, I will resign. Lin Feng didn't turn his head back, and left directly. Behind, the somewhat bald middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Mount Tai, majestic and magnificent, the honor of the 5 sacred mountains. Sweeping Liu Qin Shi Huang, a talented Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty, all once consecrated Zen in Mount Tai, cast 5-color altars, burned incense and prayed, and proclaimed to heaven. In the ancient times, there were more than 72 emperors who gave meditation on Mount Tai. There were no Huai clan, Ji Tian clan, Fuxi, Sheneng, Huangdi, Yao, Shun. In the ancient times, many ancient holy emperors named Taishan Mountain and cast 5-color altars according to ancient rituals to welcome the gods. And all these have brought too much historical value to Mount Tai. Coupled with the majestic scenery of Mount Tai, it is natural that Mount Tai is admired by the world, and there is an endless stream of tourists. Among the tourists, Lin Feng wore a white shirt. In fact, the forest peaks of Mount Tai have been here countless times, and they are all familiar with the plants and trees here. 5 years ago, he inexplicably traveled to the world of Jishan and bound a sign-in system, and the first sign-in task promulgated by the system was to sign in at the top of the Taishan Jade Emperor's Zen Terrace when the 9 dragons pull the coffin and descend on the earth. In order to complete this task, Lin Feng joined the space agency to discover in advance that the 9 dragons pull the coffin has descended on the earth, that is today. Yahuangding, Feng Chentai, on the top of Mount Tai. After a long journey, at dusk, Lin Feng finally came to the top of the Jade Emperor. There are already 20 or 30 young men and women here at this time. Looking around, I think they are about 20 or 30 years old. It should be a colleague team building or a class gathering. But among these 20 or 30 people, some are dressed in expensive clothes and some are dressed in ordinary clothes. It can be seen that the economic conditions are not at the same level. It should be a classmate gathering. Ding! Congratulations to the host for arriving at the sign-in location. The sign-in takes 3 minutes. If you exit halfway, it will be regarded as a sign-in failure. There is no time to think. Lin Feng closed his eyes and concentrates. The system interface also has a clock countdown. 5 years of waiting and 5 years of hardening are all for this moment. Now that he has traveled to the world of obscuring the sky, Lin Feng will naturally go to the dazzling Big Dipper star field, cultivate the law of 10,000 realms, and become the Supreme. Feng Lin is unwilling to spend his life in peace. Moreover, with the help of the system, we will surely be able to reach the top in this world. Time passed by 1 minute and 1 second. These 3 minutes are very short, but also very long. Finally, ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com won the novice reward, Supreme Bone. As the sound of the system fell, a lot of strange fluctuations descended in the dark, and others could not detect it, but they really acted on Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes were bright, he only felt that endless energy suddenly appeared in his body, all of which was due to the chest, and the heat seemed to be burning. And the chest is itchy, as if something is growing fast. Endless power poured into Lin Feng's chest. While the Supreme Bone was growing, it was also transforming Lin Feng's body. From the inside out, in a short moment, Lin Feng realized that his physical fitness was countless times stronger and could easily kill an elephant. At the same time, in the chest, a brand new bone has grown and completed. A kind of strange power circulates in Lin Feng's body, Bao Guang Yai, it is the Supreme Bone. If you can look inside, you can see that the Supreme Bone that grows out of Lin Feng's chest is engraved with the inscription of the Great Road. The Supreme Bone is born according to the will of heaven, and it is engraved with the treasures bestowed by God, and it is extremely powerful. And at the very first time the Supreme Bone was born in his body, Lin Feng also knew what the Supreme Bone treasure was in his body: open the sky. The ultimate way of strength, break the world. Even if Lin Feng is still a mortal body at this time, he has never cultivated, but has the Supreme Bone and blood to nourish the body. Lin Feng's physical body has broken the limit of the human body, and has at least 10,000 caddies of power. And if it urges the Supreme Bone, a full blow, the power can reach 100,000 caddies. And this is far from the limit. The ultimate strength, one force breaks 10,000 magic. As Lin Feng's strength gradually increases, the Supreme Bones in Lin Feng's body will continue to grow, and gradually use all the powers, and all the power of the treasures bestowed by God can be fully developed. Break through all laws. 100,000 caddies of force, should not be small, right? Lin Feng took a deep breath, the light of the Supreme Bone in his chest circulated, and a huge energy enveloped Lin Feng's whole body. Immediately, Lin Feng took a step and stepped on suddenly. Boom! The original solid mountain boulders cracked like gravel, and suddenly a few deep cracks broke out. Lin Feng exhaled a long breath. With this Supreme Bone, he has just embarked on the first step of spiritual practice. Ah, what's the situation? Was it an earthquake just now? It seems to be. There was a sudden rumbling, I only felt a shock in my feet. This ground is cracked, hurry up and go. The cracks on the ground gradually expanded and the ground gradually collapsed. Most of the tourists on the top of the Jade Emperor left, feeling that it was not safe. Only 20 or 30 people remained, watching the cracks curiously. It was the dozens of people from the previous classmates' reunion. They looked at the cracks that suddenly appeared. It seemed that something appeared in the depths of the cracks, which attracted them. Notice. Lin Feng also raised his eyebrows a bit. He just wanted to try his full strength with a single blow, but he didn't expect that with a stomping, he accidentally shattered Mount Tai. This, ahem, I didn't mean it. But the top of Mount Tai is a bit weaker, right? Lin Feng couldn't help but slander, but suddenly he exclaimed again. Look, something is glowing in the crack. Is exactly what the people in the classmate shouted out. Lin Feng also looked down, and deep in the crack, there were many golden ropes and jade books, and many five-color altars. Lin Feng suddenly remembered that the ancient ancestors enshrined Zen, and according to ancient rituals, they would cast a five-color altar, and the deep part of the crack was shimmering with sunlight. There were dozens of large and small five-color altars. After thousands of years, these five-color altars were gradually buried. In the end, the nine-color coffin fell and the five-color altars were shaken out. But Lin Feng just kicked, but it caused the five-color altar to break out in advance. But these five-color altars are very small, only the five-color altar in the center is extremely wide, built with 5 types of huge stones, the most primitive, but also the most sacred. At the first glance at this five-color altar, the supreme bone in Lin Feng's body suddenly burst out with a bright light, blazing on the five-color altar. Rumble! The earth was shaking, and the huge five-color altar seemed to have been activated, emitting a multicolored glow from the bottom, picking up the steps, and lighting up step by step. When the top boulder suddenly lit up, a cloud of glow was suddenly excited, straight through the cracks, and flew towards the sky, the colorful glow of the sky, as if calling something. At the same time, countless people in the space agency screamed. Look, that thing moved! 9 dragons pulling the coffin, which was originally orbiting in low Earth orbit, suddenly seemed to be inspired and began to sink. My God, why did it suddenly move? Oh! My God! At this moment, the aerospace centers of countless major countries in the world are all jumping around. Life is the greatest miracle in this world. For a long time, human beings have lived alone in this dark and lonely universe. The universe is vast, but apart from the Earth, human beings cannot detect the second planet with life. 9 dragons pulled the coffin and came from the end of the universe. I don't know where it came from. However, the 9 dragon corpses and the giant bronze coffin behind the dragon corpses must contain a lot of valuable information. Understand? Is such a precious thing, its value is immeasurable. In fact, since the discovery of 9 dragons pull coffin, the major countries on the earth have thought of countless ways, trying to salvage 9 dragons pull coffin stably and return it to the ground without any damage. But the time is too short after all. Everything is too late, and the Zhulongla coffin is about to crash. All over the world, government officials from various major countries gathered together. Under the gaze of countless heads of state, 9 dragons still entered the atmosphere of the Earth and fell completely. Under the action of gravity, the landing speed of the 9 dragons' coffin continued to increase, but at the same time the friction with the atmosphere also increased, gradually turning red. Is a meteorite, which will melt away when rubbed against the atmosphere. Inside the space centers of the world's major powers, wailing suddenly came. The worst case happened. In this way, 9 dragons pulling the coffin can hardly be kept, and it will definitely be burned down. Maybe there will be some debris like a meteorite, maybe even a little debris will not be left behind. Quickly, check it out for me to see where the wreckage will fall. Countless dignitaries have given orders to die. 9 dragons pulls the coffin too much, and even the wreckage has to fight hard. After all, the appearance of the 9 dragon corpses has subverted too many people's understanding and made certain ancient legends become reality. The United States, District 51. Sir, the picture on the copper coffin seems to be related to the alien beast described in the Shanhai Jing of the Celestial Dynasty, and the landing place of the dragon corpse is also the Celestial Dynasty. Countless information is being transmitted at this time, various forces are in action, UU reading www.uugonshu.com. And all the big countries in the world are in chaos at this time. Many big countries even used supercomputers with all their strength and finally figured out that the place where the 9-dragon coffin fell was in the territory of the Heavenly Dynasty. Although I don't know where the fall is in the heaven, as long as it is within the territory of the heaven, it is not easy for other countries to get involved. After all, the heaven at this time is already strong enough. Of course, the territory of the Heavenly Dynasty itself is busy enough. Although it can calculate that the Zholongpul coffin is falling toward its territory, it is unable to calculate the specific location. This Zholongpul coffin seems to have strange energy and can continuously correct the falling trajectory. It's okay if you fall into the deep mountains and old forests, you are afraid that you will fall into the city and injure countless civilians. For a while, many government agencies are busy. The whole world is working hard. The initiator of all this, Lin Feng, frowned and looked at the 5-color altar within the crack. After a gleam of light just radiated, the 5-color altar fell silent. Lin Feng also waited for a while, but there did not seem to be any movement, but Lin Feng's face was calm, because Lin Feng knew that although the information was slightly off, everything would not change after all. Suddenly, someone next to him screamed, "Oh my God, look at that day! Is that a meteorite? How did it fall toward us? Escape, run away!" The setting sun was like blood, and above the sky, a red light fell from 9 days, slamming straight towards the top of the Taishan Jade Emperor. The red light roared, but 9 huge figures could be seen faintly, like cast steel. It was the 9 dragon corpses. Lin Feng fixedly looked towards the sky, red light reflected in his eyes. Is finally here? 9 dragons pull the coffin. Above the 9 heavens, like the falling of stars, a huge red fireball fell towards the top of Mount Tai. Although it had not completely fallen yet, the red firelight reflected on the top of the mountain, and the sound of howling also came, causing many tourists below to flee in a hurry. 9 dragons pulling the coffin, falling from 9 days, the impact is undoubtedly strong and terrible. If it is not stopped, I am afraid that the entire Mount Tai will collapse and countless people will die. But fortunately, before Lin Feng smashed the top of Mount Tai, countless tourists descended early, otherwise the casualties would be even greater. But at the very moment when the summit of Mount Tai, the Jade Emperor topped the Zen platform, there was also a loud rumbling noise. Suddenly a 5-color altarpiece rose from the ground. Put on a 5-color halo crown. The 5-color altar rises, emitting a colorful glow, and it seems to contain strange power, which has absorbed most of the collision force of 9 dragons pulling the coffin. Boom! There was a loud roar, and then the mountains shook. Even if the 5-color altar absorbs most of the force of the collision, the remaining prestige still shocks the mountains, and the rocks collapsed. I don't know how many rebels fell from the peak and fell down. Ah! Help! Run away, get down the mountain! The road down the mountain has collapsed, there is no escape. At this time, only the members of the 2030 reunion were left on the top of the Jade Emperor. They were attracted by the colorful glow in the crack and did not go down in time. But at this time, the Zholong coffin came down to Mount Tai and the mountain road collapsed, and they were also trapped. Can't go down anymore. Countless rebel fell from a height, the impact was great, the rebel was like rain, the small one was the size of a fist, and the big one was bigger than a desk. Such a gravel falling from a high place is terrifying. If an ordinary person is hit, it is easy to be killed and on the spot. What should I do? I can't escape. Oh my God, who will help me? The scene is extremely chaotic, countless people are crying, natural disasters suddenly come, they don't have much time to react, they are trapped on the top of this Jade Emperor, there is nowhere to escape. But when everyone was in a panic, a man in a white shirt walked out calmly, thinking of the 5-color altar approaching step by step. The mountains and rocks rolled down, and everyone else was in a panic, running around holding their heads, or looking for a remote corner to hide, hoping not to be hit by the boulder. The scene is chaotic, but Lin Feng has a calm expression, walking step by step among the roaring boulders. When a man saw Lin Feng walking in the courtyard under the rolling rocks, he was taken aback for a moment, and then he was a little worried and reminded, "Hey, brother, run away." Beside Lin Feng, a huge boulder the size of a desk rumblingly rolled down from the hillside. The momentum was huge, and the force of the collision was extremely shocking. All the people looked at Lin Feng with a look of intolerance. Lin Feng was too close to the stone and could hardly escape. Is crushed by such a big stone, it must be reduced to blood mud, the scene is very cruel. But the next moment, everyone's eyes widened. I saw Lin Feng stop in his footsteps, the huge boulder on the front, the colorful rays of light on his chest, the supreme bone exuding power, and the fleshy body. Then Lin Feng sank danshan, punched sharply, and bombarded towards the boulder. Everyone was shocked. With flesh and blood, how to resist this desk-sized boulder? But the next moment, I just heard a boom, the boulder collapsed and the gravel splashed. The huge boulder was hit to pieces by the mysterious man? How can this be? The human body, how could it be so possible? This person is afraid of being a monster. All the people were stunned and smashed the boulder with one punch. They had only heard of this kind of bridge in novels, and they had never imagined that they could see it with their own eyes now. Is this person a fairy or a monster? Everyone was horrified, and even forgot to avoid the boulders falling from the hillside, but fortunately, the mountains also stood still at this time, and no boulders rolled down anymore. Everyone looked at Lin Feng in shock, but Lin Feng didn't care about the eyes of others, and walked towards the five-color altar step by step. 9 dragons pull the coffin fell from 9 days, smoke and dust around the five-color altar, colorful clouds filled the sky, it is hard to see what exactly fell on the altar. At the same place, a group of classmates gathered around, the natural disaster suddenly fell, and everyone was very nervous, and they felt a sense of security when they were surrounded. What should we do now? Everyone discussed countermeasures together. The mountain road was destroyed, and it was no longer possible to descend, and it was not safe to stay in place. In the end, everyone decided to go to the five-color altar together. The main reason was that Lin Feng just felt too shocked for everyone. One punch was able to break the boulder, obviously not a mortal. Still feel safer following Lin Feng. 20 or 30 people made a decision in an instant, followed Lin Feng for 10 steps, not too far away from Lin Feng, but not too close. Being able to smash a huge boulder with one punch is obviously no longer a mortal, and it's not that ordinary people like them can approach at will. In the crowd, a man looked at Lin Feng's back with an inexplicable look on his face. This man has a beautiful face and a slender figure. It is Ye Fan. Ye Fan and others were only attending a class reunion, how could they have thought of encountering such a natural disaster? Hey, Ye Fan, do you know the person in front of you? A classmate pulled Ye Fan's sleeves carefully, but Ye Fan shook his head. He always loved to study ancient culture. It is rumored that people in the ancient times would cultivate in the banquet and have a good life. He was so powerful that he opened the mountains and crushed the rocks, just like Lin Feng. Although Ye Fan didn't know Lin Feng, he still guessed that Lin Feng might be a monk. Oh, you don't know each other, I thought you knew each other after you reminded me. The classmate was a little disappointed when he heard that, if Ye Fan knew Lin Feng, they would be considered acquaintances, and there was some relationship. In this case, if Lin Feng could help protect them, their safety would undoubtedly be greatly guaranteed. Lin Feng also noticed that 20 or 30 people behind him were following him, but Lin Feng didn't care, just walked towards the five-color altar faintly. The five-color altarpiece is out, the colorful rays of light cover the sky and the sun, covering that area, extremely sacred and extraordinary. Lin Feng walked straight into the colorful rays of light and came to the altar, and Ye Fan and the others followed closely, climbing up the steps. When everyone saw what was on the altar, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com was even more shocked. Everyone took a breath. This is the dragon. There was a colorful glow that obscured the sight. Yafan and others did not see what was falling. Now that they clearly see the majestic vision of 9 dragons pulling the coffin, they are all surprised and speechless. They have lived in the city for more than 20 years. Ever wondered that the legendary dragon in ancient mythology actually existed? Everyone was shocked, and some of them couldn't recover. In the other direction, Lin Feng was shocked. Although I had imagined in my heart for a long time, even though I had seen it on the screen, but when I saw the 9 dragon corpses in front of my eyes, I was still shocked by the reckless aura. The black dragon corpse is cast like black iron, and it has a strong sense of strength. The dragon corpse is 100 meters long and has a very oppressive atmosphere. In Lin Feng's body, the supreme bone also felt an inexplicable aura enveloped, the brilliance flowed, and the body was automatically protected. Even after the endless years of death, the glory of the dragon's body is no longer, and the divinity has passed away, but it is just a corpse, full of shocking aura. Even made the supreme bone self-protection body, which shows that this dragon corpse was absolutely powerful before his death. 9 dragons pull the coffin, come from the ancient starry sky, go to unknown places. The earth is just one of the stops. No one knows where the 9 dragon pulls the coffin, and where it goes. But Lin Feng is very clear about one thing, that is, when the 9 dragons pull the coffin comes to earth this time, it will go to the Big Dipper starfield, and finally come to the desolate ancient Holy Land. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the sign-in task. The sign-in location, Ying Huxing, Dalayin Temple. The sign-in time is 3 minutes. You can get rewards for completing the sign-in task, and you will be deemed a failure if you exit halfway. The Buddhist sound, the sound is like thunder, it is called the Great Layin Temple. The place where I asked for the sign-in this time is also the Great Layin Temple, but this ancient temple is not on Earth, but on Yinghuo, which is Mars. Lin Feng looked at the giant bronze coffin. The giant coffin was about 20 meters long. The lid of the coffin had been opened. The 5-color altar radiated light, which seemed to be charging for the giant bronze coffin. It won't be long before 9 dragons pulls the coffin from here. The next place to stay is Yinghuo Guxing. Without much hesitation, Lin Feng stepped forward and walked directly into the copper coffin. If you go along, you will be everywhere. If you go against it, you will be immortal, and immortal will only be in one thought. Since he is reborn for the first time, he naturally wants to climb the road of immortality. The earth is already in the age of domination. Only the Big Dipper domain has ample aura and can practice cultivation. After 5 years of preparation, Lin Feng will naturally not let go of this opportunity. And as Lin Feng stepped into the giant bronze coffin, there was a sudden burst of suction in the giant bronze coffin. On the 5-color altar, the 20 or 30 people who were originally bystanders were attracted by the huge suction, and fell into it all at once. In the giant bronze coffin. The lid of the giant bronze coffin is closed, and there are no gaps in it. At the top of Mount Tai, the huge 5-color altar emits light, the light is dazzling, and it goes straight to the sky. 9 huge dragon corpses soared into the sky, pulling the giant bronze coffin behind them, and flying into the endless universe in an instant with this colorful glow. Inside the copper coffin, the sound of wailing, one after another. Oh, where is this? It hurts, I fell to death. We seem to be trapped in a copper coffin. 20 or 30 people wailed for a while, and gradually stopped making noises, trying to find a way out, pushing open the lid of the copper coffin to see if they could escape from here. But naturally it was useless. They had already been in space at this time, and they couldn't open the giant bronze coffin at all. Okay, don't waste your energy. Lin Feng said. He really had a headache because of everyone's noise. Hey? Who is it? Everyone's heart jumped. They and their classmates gathered together, but their voices came from another place. Inside the giant bronze coffin, there was darkness and no light source. At this moment, an unfamiliar voice suddenly remembered, and everyone was naturally nervous. At this moment, a few people woke up like a dream, took out their mobile phone from their pockets and irradiated it towards the source of the sound, but as soon as the mobile phone was illuminated, the owner of the mobile phone screamed, and the mobile phone could not be held and dropped on the ground. The crowd was even more chaotic. Light and shadow flashed by, but they saw inside the huge bronze coffin, there was a smaller coffin, about 2 meters long, and more importantly, a figure sitting on the coffin, like a ghost. Lee. Everyone was heart palpitated. They had been struggling for so long on the edge of life and death. They were already anxious and uneasy. But at this time, Ye Fan turned on the phone's lighting function and stepped forward. "It's really you, this brother, this senior," Insya Ye Fan, and his classmates were unintentionally trapped here. "I don't know if seniors can get out of trouble." Ye Fan is very thoughtful. Since he guessed that Lin Feng is a cultivator, it is appropriate to call him senior. Lin Feng also glanced at Ye Fan. He was slender, but there was a supreme power in his body. Although he hadn't awakened yet, the supreme bones in his body could perceive some. The ancient Eucharist is really good. Since it comes, let it rest. Be quiet. Lin Feng finally spit out a few words, but did not explain the ins and outs to them. Whether they want it or not, they have already boarded the copper coffin at this time, and they can only go all the way forward and can't look back. In that case, it is better to admit their fate. Lin Feng said. Everyone was quiet. They had seen Lin Feng's methods, and they did not dare to provoke Lin Feng, especially in such an unfamiliar environment. But at this time, in the corner of the copper coffin, a voice was also humming, "Oh, I fell to death. Ye Fan, I seem to hear your voice. Is there any water?" A man climbed up from the corner, tall and burly. It was Pangbo. "Are you Pangbo? I thought you didn't come." Ye Fan heard Pangbo's voice and was also a little delighted, and handed a bottle of water over. Several people did not come to this class reunion. Pangbo was one of them, but he did not expect to appear here at this time. Pangbo also slurped and drank it, and then explained the ins and outs clearly. He was delayed by something at home. When he came to Mount Tai as a cable car, he suddenly encountered 9 dragons pulling a coffin from the sky, fell directly on the 5-color altar, and fainted. He just woke up faintly. The appearance of Pangbo relieved the depression in the giant bronze coffin to a certain extent. After all, the addition of new classmates made everyone feel more at ease. But it was also not the case. There were also a few people in the corner. They kept their faces gloomy, seeming to see Ye Fan and Pangbo upset, but at the same time they were a little afraid of Lin Feng's presence, so they never spoke. Boom! At this moment, the bronze giant coffin seemed to have a violent impact. The giant coffin turned upside down, and everyone in the giant coffin fell to the ground in an embarrassing manner, and had an intimate contact with the solid bronze ground. Everyone was in a panic, but only Lin Feng knew in his heart that this was the place. Yingzhou Old Star. 9 dragons pulled the coffin to the ground. Yu reading www.youkansha.com's collision force was originally great, but inside the copper coffin, the bizarre portraits engraved on the coffin wall bloomed with little rays of light, exuding a burst of soft power, and protected it. Everyone, so that everyone is not injured. Finally, the copper coffin turned sideways, and a gap was revealed, enough for 2 people to pass side by side. There is light, great! We can go out. All the people were very happy, ignoring the pain in their bodies, and rushing towards the exit. But after everyone rushed out, they were all in a daze. As far as the eye can see, a crimson desert, extremely desolate and lifeless. They were still on the top of Mount Tai before entering the copper coffin, but where did they come to? Everyone was sluggish, but at this time, Lin Feng separated the people and stepped out. The ancient star of Yinghua was originally not suitable for human survival, but this place is very strange, surrounded by a huge bubble as a barrier, surrounding the huge land. And everyone was in this huge bubble at this time, and they were able to breathe freely. Senior, do you know where this is? Ye Fan walked up to Lin Feng, frowned slightly. Ye Fan had already noticed at this time, this place, maybe not the earth. Lin Feng glanced at Guangmo sandstone and red clay, and faintly uttered 4 words, Ying Zhou Guxing. Ye Fan's pupils shrink. Ying Ying is like fire, Lily confused. It was called Yinghuo in ancient times and was regarded as an unknown star. Today it is called Mars. It is also more than 50 million kilometers away from the Earth's orbit. Even the most advanced spacecraft now takes several months to arrive. But half an hour ago, everyone was on the top of Mount Tai. Why did everyone come to Mars when the copper coffin was opened again? Yinghuo? Mars? You said this is Mars. How is this possible? Human technology can't land on Mars at all. Yes, and the atmosphere on Mars is so thin that humans cannot breathe here. This is definitely not Mars. Don't lie to us. At the beginning, everyone still had the thought of waiting for rescue in the copper coffin, so they respected Lin Feng very much. But at this time, I heard that I had come to Mars, and the hope of going back was slim, and I was a little out of control. Especially a few expensively dressed men stepped forward and faintly surrounded Lin Feng. In the eyes of everyone, Lin Feng clearly knew a lot of things, and he had to make it clear. Look at his clothes, everyone. A woman's eyes were venomous, and at a glance, she saw the small characters Space Agency on Lin Feng's shirt, and the crowd suddenly became angry. In the beginning, everyone was not familiar with Lin Feng's origins, so naturally they did not dare to overstep too much, but now knowing Lin Feng's origin is equivalent to suddenly returning to the familiar urban law fighting for money and backing. It happened that many people here today have some strength, or men and women who think they are very capable, directly enclose Lin Feng in the center. You can tell me clearly, what is going on? If we weren't following you, how could we be sucked into the copper coffin? If you don't send us back today, I will go to the court to sue you and your unit. Hey, I don't care which unit you belong to. My dad is Lu Gang, the mayor of S City. Get acquainted and send me home quickly, otherwise your leader will not be able to keep you. Several men and women gathered Lin Feng in the center, pointing and pointing. If it weren't for Lin Feng's strength, I'm afraid he would have rushed forward to subdue Lin Feng. But Lin Feng just looked at these people indifferently. These people still did not see the situation clearly. The rules had changed the moment they set foot on the ancient starry sky. The world of monks, the weak and the strong eat the weak, but these people still move out of the chairman of the certain group, and the identity of the mayor of certain wants to be suppressed. Is extremely ridiculous. Monk, ever cared about worldly power? In fact, there were some people who saw the situation clearly and didn't trespass, such as Ye Fan and a dozen people, who stood by and did not intervene. You, want me to explain? Lin Feng said, his expression was very indifferent, without the slightest expression. The scene suddenly stagnated, and the dozen men and women surrounded by Lin Feng were a little awakened. Lin Feng is strong, relying on force alone can definitely suppress everyone. There are just a few noble sons, and the son has a temper. Although he is stunned in his heart, he refuses to lose any face. A headed by called Lu Yunzi, boldly stepped forward. My dad is the mayor, please contact the leader of your unit. I snapped. Before finishing speaking, Lin Feng has already taken out a palm. Lu Yunzi was like a rag, he was easily swept away by Lin Feng more than 10 meters away with the palm of his hand. His face was swollen like a pig's head, and he passed out without having time to grunt. Lin Feng didn't care about Lu Yunzi's life or death, and left here straight away. The system interface has already marked the mission target. The distance to Dalayan Temple is not too close, so it's better to go through earlier. Lin Feng approached the crowd, and the people who were still huddled together to question Lin Feng, when they saw Lin Feng approaching, they all showed a look of fear, and their legs were a little weak for a while. Lin Feng's power is so great that these mortals who have not practiced can't bear it at all. Do you want me to explain it? Lin Feng spoke lightly, with a very indifferent expression. When the onlookers heard it, they tremblingly made a way out, dare not to say a word, with a terrifying expression on their faces. Lin Feng is too cold to look at everyone, there is no emotion in his eyes, as if he is looking at ants. On the other side, Ye Fan and Pang Bo exchanged glances, and they were determined to follow Lin Feng. Lin Feng seems to be very familiar with this place, and is strong, it is safer to follow Lin Feng. Moreover, the most important thing is that Lin Feng seems cold and ruthless, but as long as he doesn't provoke him, he should be fine. Ye Fan and Lin Feng have dealt with him several times, and he is still a bit accurate when he asks himself. It is said that people have a herd mentality, especially in this unfamiliar environment. It is really not safe to stay in place. The huge copper coffin always makes abnormal noises, which shocks everyone. At this time, in the copper coffin, but there is only a small coffin, where did the abnormal noise come from? I can't think about it. Once I think about it, a cold sweat oozes from my back. Everyone also hurriedly set off, and together with Ye Fan Pangbo, they followed Lin Feng far behind, but this time the distance was farther, about 10 meters away, so they didn't dare to approach Lin Feng again. Walked through a vast ruin, here is a ruined wall, but you can also see the pavilions, towers and pavilions, which should be an ancient palace, magnificent, but now it is in ruins. Through this piece of rubble, finally came to the destination. An ancient tree stands at the end, the crown is bare, with only 5 or 6 crystal clear leaves swaying, and it seems that it may be detached at any time. This is an ancient Bodhi tree. According to legend, Sakyamuni used to prove Buddhahood under the Bodhi tree, and the Bodhi tree became a Buddha tree. It is normal to plant it next to this ancient temple. Lin Feng walked in the forefront, went straight forward, and took out a Bodhi seed under the old tree. The color of the Bodhi seed is dark and ordinary. There is neither brilliance flickering nor fragrant fragrance. The only thing worth mentioning is that the ordinary Bodhi is only the size of a fingernail. Yukansha.com. But this Bodhi is the size of a walnut, and the pattern on the Bodhi is natural, and it is a compassionate Buddha. The Buddha was born from the natural texture, but it seems to be carefully carved on it. The gloomy Buddha image is simple and natural, with a faint Zen charm. This Bodhi seed can help people meditate and improve their understanding. It is a rare treasure. Lin Feng carefully put it away and went outside the ancient temple. At this time, Ye Fan and the others also leaned forward. This is Mars, but there is a temple on Mars that has never collapsed. They are very excited and want to see if there are living people here. The temple is simple and simple. After vicissitudes of life, there is a bronze plaque on the front entrance with 4 big characters written on the bronze plaque, which are very ancient characters. Everyone can only see clearly that the first word is big and the last word is temple. As for the 2 characters in the middle, I can't see clearly. Only Lin Feng, looking at this temple, his eyes flickered. Senior, do you know what temple this is? It was Ye Fan and Pangbo who came up. Pangbo was a little nervous, for fear that Lin Summit would take a shot without mercy and take a meal, but Ye Fan was not afraid. He was confident that he was still very accurate in judging people, as long as he didn't stop Lin Feng. There is no danger in what you do. This is Dalayan Temple. Lin Feng said casually, then stepped forward and walked into the temple. Ding! Congratulations to the host for arriving at the sign-in location. The sign-in takes 3 minutes. If you exit halfway, it will be regarded as a sign-in failure. The system prompt sounded at the right time, and at the same time a countdown timer appeared on the system interface, and the 180 seconds passed quickly. Ding! Congratulations to the host, successfully signed in at the Great Lei Yin Temple of Yinghuxing, and received a reward, Idol's Town Prison Force. With the sound of the system's announcement, a golden brilliance flashed into Lin Feng's sea of knowledge, sinking and floating in Lin Feng's sea of knowledge, waiting for Lin Feng to turn it on. Lin Feng didn't delay, he clicked it directly, and the golden brilliance scattered into Lin Feng's sea of knowledge, and the power of the system made Lin Feng immediately familiar with all the tricks of Iron Elephant Prison Force and understood this. The terrible part of the exercises. Different from the general practice method, the general practice method is to attract spiritual power to travel through the body. However, Iron Elephant Prison Force treats the whole body as 840 million tiny particles. Each particle awakens can open up the power of a giant elephant. If it can fully awaken, it can easily tear mountains and rivers. But this is not the end of Shenxiang prison power, this practice is too terrifying. The types of elephants vary greatly. Giant elephants are young and transformed into dragon elephants. It is for Dachshund. When the power to open up the giant elephant is successful, you can go back to the starting point and open up the dragon elephant particles on the giant elephant particles, and then the original image particles, until the human body is all the idol particles, which is great. Practicing to achieve great success, urging the city to open the mountains, turning the river and the sea, roaring down the stars, picking the moon and swallowing the sun, all within a single thought. Can suppress in one suit, it's Idol's prison force. After a while, Lin Feng opened his eyes and let out a white breath. The power of God's restraining prison force is terrifying, but the spiritual power it requires is too turbulent. The human body has 840 million particles. Even if you want to cultivate to the first level, it is extremely difficult to cultivate these 840 million powers into the power of a giant elephant. A giant elephant has the power of 10,000 catties, and the power of 840 million giant elephants is an extremely terrifying number. If you want to cultivate it, the energy required is also an extremely terrifying number. Although Lin Feng has not yet started to practice, but the supreme bone and blood in his body contains extraordinary power, you can also try to practice this God's prison restraining force. Use the air to attract the gods, use the gods to form images, raise their hands and feet, the power of the giant elephant, one person. Lin Feng silently recites the secrets of the formulas of Iron Image Restoring Prison Force, holding a Bodhi seed in his hand, the supreme bone on his chest shimmers slightly, and a stream of precious blood is stimulated from the supreme bone, wandering around his body, washing Lin Feng's body. Suddenly, Lin Feng's Bodhi in his hand exudes an inexplicable aura. This Bodhi seed seems ordinary, but it is extremely precious. It can enlighten the Tao and improve a person's aptitude. When Bodhi felt that Lin Feng was practicing the magic technique, he spontaneously exuded an inexplicable aura, which made the entire Dalayan temple tremble. The Buddha statue on the Bodhi is lifelike, and it seems to have a flash of light. In the Great Layan temple, on the altar table, a blue light flickered. After the blue light, a Buddha statue also emits a faint light, and the sound of the Buddha is faint, so start singing. Dalayan temple, thousands of years ago, there was a Buddhist master who preached and preached here. Lin Feng was practicing here at this time, and unexpectedly inadvertently inspired the ancient scene and reproduced the Buddhist sound. Outside the Great Layan temple, Ye Fan and the others were a little surprised watching this scene. The Buddha's music sang, and the entire ancient temple exudes a faint golden Buddha light, like the reappearance of ancient saints, which makes people want to kneel. Topple! Snapped! There are really two female classmates who were photographed by the golden light of Buddha's voice, their legs and feet were weak, and they fell to the ground. But more people felt shocked, the Buddha's voice was faint, and the golden light flickered, and all of this only appeared after Lin Feng entered. There is no doubt that Lin Feng made all of this. Lin Feng, sure enough, he is a cultivator. Ye Fan's expression became more and more certain. Lin Feng didn't care about other people's thoughts, he just closed his eyes and contemplated, and circulated the supreme bone and blood all over his body. Thanks to the help of the system, Lin Feng's understanding of Iranian prison force has reached a level that ordinary people can hardly reach, and it is not even necessary for the founder of this technique to be low. Therefore, as long as there is enough energy to provide, Lin Feng can almost keep practicing without encountering any bottlenecks. At this time, Lin Feng closed his eyes and meditated. The meditation himself turned into 840 million tiny particles. Each particle is a giant elephant embryo. It has not yet awakened. The 840 million giant elephant embryos form a god elephant. The idol has a skull the size of a star field, and its nose is as long as hundreds of millions of miles, sweeping the stars. At the foot of the idol, stepping on the boundless cage, the devil roared to rush out as dense as the dust. The supreme bone and blood flowed throughout the body, constantly flowing according to the meridians recorded in the exercises. In the body, the tiny particles suddenly made a cracking sound, and an aura of the awakening of the ancient prehistoric behemoth was slowly transmitted from Lin Feng's body. Boom! Suddenly, the faint sound of the Buddha that originally sounded in the entire Great Laoyin Temple was silenced, and the glittering Buddha statues also gathered their brilliance and returned to their simplicity. A breath of ancient wilderness and recklessness dissipated from Lin Feng, and passed in all directions. The entire Great Laoyin Temple shook, the blue light on the altar table flickered and flickered, almost extinguished, and several cracks appeared in the ancient Buddha statue. These things have existed for too long, the inner pattern and divinity are almost gone and clean, and they are on the verge of destruction. Now they are impacted by the breath of Lin Feng, making them even more vulnerable. Lin Feng also opened his eyes suddenly. His eyes are full of strange power and breathtaking. Idle, powerful, since it can suppress hell, the evil spirit is also extremely heavy. A shout can surrender countless alien beasts, dragons, and tigers must surrender. And Lin Feng has now awakened 10 particles and gained the power of 10 giant elephants. The power of a giant elephant is 10,000 catties. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Now that Lin Feng runs the exercises, he has a giant elephant supernatural power of 100,000 catties, which already has a trace of the power of the statue. In addition, Lin Feng's physical body has 10,000 catties of power. If combined with the Supreme Bone's own opening the sky art, the power that bursts out instantly, I'm afraid there will be 1 million catties. Such a mighty power is no longer something ordinary monks can resist. Lin Feng stood up and felt himself carefully. With the blood of the Supreme Bone, can it only unleash the power of 10 particles of giant elephants? It seems that if you want to refine all the 480 million particles in your body, the energy required is really a terrifying number. But these can be slowly figured out. Now Lin Feng has exploded with all his strength. With a force of 1 million catties, he has initially had the power to protect himself, and the danger is about to approach. Lin Feng glanced calmly. After refining the power of the giant elephant, his body was solidified again, and his inspiration became more sensitive. Lin Feng could perceive that in the underground of the Great Laoyin Temple, something is penetrating from the ground, and it will not take long to reach the ground. Are those blood crocodiles, transformed by the demonic energy of the crocodile ancestors? Buddhist scriptures once recorded that there are 18 hells in the underground of the Laoyin Temple, and there are big secrets on this ancient star of Yinghuo. For example, in this underground, a crocodile ancestor was suppressed by the Buddha, and its power swallowed the sky. It is really terrible. The crocodile ancestor has been suppressed for more than 2,000 years, but it is still immortal. If it weren't for Sakyamuni to suppress it, I'm afraid this crocodile ancestor has already escaped. But even so, it is not suitable to stay here for a long time. Now that the Sinan task has been completed, Lin Feng is not prepared to wait any longer. 9 dragons pulls the coffin on the 5-color altar to replenish energy. It will soon be sailing through the vast ancient starry sky. And there is Lin Feng's destination. Lin Feng was about to withdraw, but before he withdrew, he was still preparing to clean up the things in this big Laoyin temple. The first thing to collect is the eternal blue light on the table. This Buddha lamp flickers and has never been extinguished. It is extremely extraordinary. Although it has gone through the years, it can be seen that it is a rare treasure with a pattern engraved on the inside. It has been used by the Buddha and has inexplicable power. Starting with the Buddha lamp, Lin Feng leaped up again and took a Taoist bottle from a Guanyin statue. The whole body of the Taoist bottle is made of mutton jade. It has its own space for storing many things. It is a good storage magic weapon. Then Lin Feng looked around again. Only a few broken magic weapons were left around, such as broken wooden fish and broken vajra. Although there were some divine spirits inside, it was broken after all, and the power was too small for Lin Feng to look at. Finally, Lin Feng found a string of Buddhist beads on the top of the Buddha statue. The brown beads were crystal clear, suspected to be made of Buddhist relics. It was extraordinary, and it was a very powerful body protection treasure. Lin Feng also put it away. Then, outside of the Great Laiyan Temple, Ye Fan and the others finally couldn't help but walked in carefully. They saw Lin Feng come in earlier, and they wanted to come in with him, but he hesitated. This Laiyan Temple sounded Buddha's chanting. Then there was golden light flashing, and a wild breath poured out, like a giant elephant roaring, making people tremble. After a long while, the temple was silent, and Ye Fan walked in. At this time, Lin Feng had already collected almost everything. Senior. Ye Fan saw Lin Feng and just wanted to ask if he would disturb Lin Feng, but he accidentally kicked a Buddha statue out of the dust. The Buddha statue is only the size of a palm, but it is very agile. The surface of the Buddha statue has faint fluorescence flowing, which makes this Buddha statue come to life, like a living thing. Lin Feng's brows moved slightly. This Buddha statue was very unusual, because when this Buddha statue was born, the relic beads in his hand trembled slightly, and the bronze Buddha lamp flickered. Obviously, there are secrets in this Buddha statue, which may be inherited, which is quite extraordinary. I have to say, Ye Fan, as a ridiculous ancient Eucharist, was really angry and lucky. Although the Buddha statue is good, Lin Feng is not tempted. As a monk, one will follow the rule, and the opposite will lead to the immortal. If there is an opportunity to fail to recognize the Lord, Lin Feng will fight for himself. Fighting with the heavens is exactly what the monks do. But since the Buddha statue has been discovered by Ye Fan, Lin Feng will not fight with him, which is not in line with his xingxing. Ye Fan picked up the Buddha statue and glanced at Lin Feng. The light flowing from this Buddha statue is extraordinary, but when I saw Lin Feng, I didn't care, and I knew in my heart, Lin Feng doesn't care about these things. From this point of view, this person also has arrogance in his heart. Ye Fan's evaluation of Lin Feng was a little higher in an instant. In all fairness, if Lin Feng really wanted to covet the Buddha statue in Ye Fan's hands, he would not even have to it. He just had to show this, and Ye Fan would have to offer the treasure. After all, Ye Fan was still just a mortal at this time, unable to disobey Lin Feng at all. But, this temple seems to have a lot of treasures. Ye Fan and Pang Bo made a look. The two of them were good brothers in college. They had the same mind, and they could understand a lot with one look. Pang Bo searched around and found a broken diamond pestle. Pang Bo waved it subconsciously. Cracking! There are flashes of thunder. The sound of wind and thunder is sharp and harsh, powerful and extraordinary. Damn, this thing is amazing! Pang Bo screamed, and at this time, everyone found that this ancient temple was unusual. Even some dilapidated items had extraordinary magical effects. This is a magic weapon. In an instant, everyone moved their minds. In this case, there is a powerful magic weapon, which can obviously increase the chance of survival. The crowd dispersed at once and began to search around in the temple. Someone found a dilapidated futon in the dust, someone found a broken wooden fish under the altar, and others found half of a dilapidated monk's clothing. The crowd began to be a little crazy. If they are unfamiliar people, I'm afraid they have already started looting at this time, but these people are mostly classmates, and they are familiar with each other, but they have not broken their faces. And Lin Feng carefully perceives that the blood crocodile transformed by the demon chi of the crocodile ancestor is about to break through the restriction at this time, and can no longer stay here. Lin Feng turned around and left without hesitation. Ye Fan and Pang Bo were also looking for Buddha treasures, no one would have too many such things. But as soon as he saw Lin Feng leave, Ye Fan frowned and followed Lin Feng and said, "Senior, can you wait for us? 9 dragons pull the coffin, Yingzhu ancient stars, delay in temple." In just a few hours, Ye Fan and the others overturned their previous understanding. Although Ye Fan's expression was calm, he was actually a little tense. This strange ancient place was not dangerous. Ye Fan still hoped that Lin Feng could help them. Lin Feng also glanced at Ye Fan. "I don't want to die, go." The blood crocodile appeared. Lin Feng did not remind others, because many people have been blinded by the power of Buddha, even if they remind them, they would not listen. Besides, Lin Feng is not familiar with them. After seeing the power of Buddhism, these people will not listen. This is foreseeable. Ye Fan's complexion changed. Before he could think about it, he immediately shouted to Pang Bo, Wang Zaiwen, let's go quickly. Senior said there is danger here. Ye Fan opened his mouth and called. Pang Bo and others naturally believed in Ye Fan very much, and quickly gathered together to prepare to retreat. But there are still more than a dozen people, looking up and down in the dust, but they didn't take Ye Fan's words to heart. Joke. This place has been silent for thousands of years. If there is a danger that does not happen sooner or later, how can it happen here? There is also the so-called predecessor, everyone can see, Lin Feng's left-hand jade net bottle, right-hand bronze Buddha lamp, and a string of Buddhist beads on his wrist. They are all indispensable treasures. Is many times stronger than the broken objects in everyone's hands. Everyone was eager, but they were afraid of Lin Feng's strength for a while and didn't dare to move rashly. However, people continue to find incomplete Buddha treasures in the ruins, which makes everyone enthusiastic. Where can they listen to Ye Fan's advice? Ye Fan also frowned. Lin Feng is strong, everyone should follow Lin Feng to advance and retreat to be the safest. And Lin Feng has so many indispensable Buddha treasures, but he still retreats, which shows that this big Laiyin temple is not as safe as it seems. As expected, the next moment. Boom! A male classmate fell straight down, smoke and dust everywhere. "Hey, Li Hao, what's the matter with you?" Pang Bo was about to step forward subconsciously, but Ye Fan frowned and noticed something was wrong. "Don't come near him." Ye Fan clenched the Buddha treasure in his hand. All the students were attracted, and gradually approached. The crowd was silent, and a dangerous atmosphere gradually spread. Suddenly, there was a strange noise in the silent environment. Guru! Crack! There was a chill in everyone's hearts. The sound was like a wild beast chewing its flesh, and the sound of swallowing flesh and crunching bones came from the fallen classmate. Looking closely, a coin-sized blood hole appeared above his classmate's head, which was already dead. Died. Ye Fan's complexion changed. Death is not terrible, but the key is how this classmate died. No one can see clearly. Suddenly, a small crocodile-sized insect beast was covered in blood, crawled out of the blood hole, and roared at the crowd with a sharp cry. All the faces changed. "What the is this?" Pang Bo yelled, because there was also a small crocodile attacking him, but fortunately, Pang Bo's Vajra Pestle self-protected body, emitted a burst of golden light, and bounced the crocodile out. "What? Evergreen is dead. There is more than one crocodile, let's run away." The crowd was completely panicked. Before, Ye Fan asked everyone to escape, and many people did not listen, but at this time everyone was rushing, chasing Lin Feng's back, and wanted to return to the five-color altar and hide in the bronze giant coffin. They have changed their minds. In their world, life and death have never been so fragile. At this time, the only ones that can give them hope and a sense of security are the unpredictable Lin Feng and the closed bronze giant coffin. Boom! Before everyone could escape, there was a roar, and the great Lei Yin temple began to sway, seeming to collapse at any time, and then thousands of densely packed crocodiles emerged from the ground, with blood-red eyes staring at the road. Ye Fan and others running wildly. Then, he chased and killed Ye Fan and others extremely fast. Everyone rushed all the way, but those with Buddha's treasure body were okay. When attacked by a blood crocodile, the Buddha's brilliance flickered, and they were always able to protect their bodies and save lives. But if there is no Buddha treasure body, you can't see how the blood crocodile launched the attack, and it has been killed. Puff! Puff! Classmates continued to fall to the ground, their bodies gradually being overwhelmed by thousands of small blood crocodiles. These blood crocodiles were no more than a palm, but they were extremely fierce. Not only were they so fast that people could not see their body, but they were also sturdy. Can easily penetrate the skull. What should I do? Who will help me? Oh my God, I don't want to die, I want to go home. The crowd nearly collapsed and they ran wildly, but they were actually exhausted. The blood crocodile continued to slaughter them and destroyed them mentally. Especially the few students who did not have Buddha's body were crying bitterly and begging for someone can save them. But unfortunately, the tragedy was confirmed when they were blinded by greed. Finally, after hardships, a dozen people were left to escape back to the five-color altar. There were originally about 30 people, but now they are lost in half. For them who have never seen blood, this is really too tragic. On the five-color altar, the light flickered and formed a circle of protective shields. It seemed that thousands of blood crocodiles were jealous. Sit on the ground. Some women couldn't help crying. They were scared, but when they saw so many classmates die, they were sad. Even Ye Fan and Pangbo were a little sad. A few hours ago, everyone was fine, but I didn't expect that so many students would die all at once. It was an unreal sense of absurdity. On the five-color altar, Lin Feng had been here for a long time, holding the unextinguishable blue light in his right hand, looking at the scarlet eyes of thousands of small crocodiles outside the five-color altar, staring coldly at everyone. Senior, what should we do? Ye Fan walked up to Lin Feng. It seemed safe right now, but in fact the real hardening is only now beginning. Although they were chased by blood crocodile all the way, not only did the fallen classmate's body become the blood crocodile nourishment, and everyone managed to escape. Time. But now it is different. Thousands of blood crocodiles surrounded the five-color altar, and everyone has nowhere to escape. But the bronze giant coffin still overturned, and the five-color altar shone with 5 colors of light, constantly hiding in the bronze giant coffin, seeming to be charging the bronze giant coffin, and it will take some time to activate the 9-dragon pull coffin. Unfortunately, what everyone lacks most now is time. Pangbo frowned when he looked at the thousands of crocodiles outside the five-color altar. There are so many weird things. It seems that Xiao deserves to die here today, but if you die, Xiao will have to kill him. Pangbo's Vajra and Pestle flickered with thunder. He was never a person who was afraid of death. These blood crocodiles killed so many classmates' lives, Pangbo just wanted to kill him. 9 dragons pulling coffin is accumulating strength, and it only needs to be on guard for a while. Lin Feng spoke, holding an unextinguishable blue light, and walking up to the edge of the altar, facing these tens of millions of blood crocodiles alone. These blood crocodiles are fast and powerful. They are a great threat to mortals, but to Lin Feng, they are nothing. No matter how many ants, have you ever killed an elephant? What's more, Lin Feng still has an inextinguishable Buddha lamp in his hand. The flame on this Buddha lamp is beating, and he has great restraint on these blood crocodiles. Seeing Lin Feng approaching alone, Ye Fan and Pangbo also looked at each other foreheads, holding the Buddha treasure, walking up side by side, standing next to Lin Feng one by one. Obviously, these two people want to fight alongside Lin Feng. Lin Feng also glanced at Ye Fan and Pang Bo. The two of them were a bit courageous. Although they were still mortals, they dared to fight. Looking back at the crowd, there are many people with incomplete Buddha treasures in their hands, but they all hide behind and refuse to give their heads. Lin Feng looked back, his eyes swept across the crowd, everyone bowed their heads and remained silent. There is fear and obedience in his sight, but there is also some inexplicable resentment. Maybe they were resenting Lin Feng, and blame Lin Feng in Dalayan Temple for not reminding them that blood crocodile appeared and devoured people. Human beings are actually a very interesting species. Even in such a disaster, there are still people who want to preserve their strength and refuse to take the lead. Lin Feng didn't care at all. These people also had the Buddha treasures in their hands, and Lin Feng didn't see them in the slightest. Whether they shot or not had no influence on the situation of the battle. Finally, outside the five-color altar, thousands of blood crocodiles faced each other for a while, and could no longer bear the temptation of bloodthirsty, and began to attack. Each blood crocodile was extremely fast, and rushed towards the five-colored altar. The five-color altar is now fully pulling the coffin for 9 dragons. The protection is not strong, not to mention that at this time, thousands of blood crocodiles all rushed up with their brains. The transparent barrier on the five-color altar shook obviously, but fortunately, hold on, not broken. I saw a sturdy blood crocodile emerge from the altar barrier with some difficulty, and then bounced towards Lin Feng's forehead, with a hideous face and fierce vigor. Clang! Lin Feng remained motionless, but Pang Bo made a move and waved the devil pestle, like a baseball, hitting the blood crocodile with one stick, and the lightning flashes on the devil pestle, making a dull sound like hitting an iron block. The blood crocodile couldn't resist the power of the magic pestle, was blown away by a blow, hit the five-color altar barrier, and then fell softly. Zhang Mo pestle smashed the bones of the crocodiles with one blow, fiercely powerful. But on the other side, 3 crocodiles pierced and came forward. Ye Fan held the Buddha statue in his hand. The Buddha on the Buddha statue closed his eyes and chanted sutras, but suddenly the Buddha statue opened his eyes, bursting out 2 Buddha lights, and easily took the small crocodiles. Penetrate. Even, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, the golden light bursting out of the Buddha's eyes disappeared, and it pierced the barrier of the five-color altar. If the 5 or 6 crocodiles outside the barrier were pierced by the golden light, they were easily pierced. Die. There is no doubt that the Buddha treasure in Ye Fan's hand is extremely powerful, and it is also a perfect Buddha treasure, extremely extraordinary. With Ye Fan and Pang Bo, Lin Feng didn't need to take action. After all, Lin Feng's goal was to delay time and allow the copper coffin to accumulate enough energy to set sail in the starry sky and land on Baidu. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the sign-in task. Sign-in location, Big Dipper, a forbidden land. Sign-in time, 5 minutes. You can get rewards after signing in. Is another sign-in task, this time it happens to be an ancient forbidden place, and it is also the next destination of 9 dragons pull coffin. The energy of 9 dragons pulling the coffin continues to accumulate. Although the blood crocodile is trying to break through the barrier of the five-color altar, for the time being, only a few blood crocodile can break through, and both Ye Fan and Pang Bo can prevent it. It seems that everything is going well. As long as you hold on for a while, you should be able to set sail and complete this sign-in task easily. But at this moment, an endless black evil spirit suddenly appeared on the side of Dalayan Temple, and it rushed straight into the stars, rolling like a mountain, and rushing like a tsunami, rolling over like the world. And the great Layan Temple, which has not been standing for many years, was actually under the impact of that demon gas. The golden light flickered, and then the Buddha statue of Sakyamuni shattered, the Buddhist temple collapsed, and it collapsed completely. Great Layan Temple, it just collapsed. But from the bottom of the Great Layan Temple, there is endless demon energy, like a supreme demon, about to be born. Lin Feng Gujing Bubo's expression finally moved, and he fixedly looked under the ruins of Dalayan Temple. Crocodile ancestor, are you finally born? What it is? Oh my god! It's terrible! Everyone panicked and huddled together, trembling. The original peaceful atmosphere of Dalayan Temple disappeared, and it turned into a soaring air. What is even more frightening is that the underground where the boundless demon spirit bursts out with a loud rumbling noise. A body larger than a mountain crawls out of the ground, like a demon crawling out of the abyss of hell. Scarlet eyes are as big as a hill, even if they are far away, you can see the evil spirit and hostility in the scarlet eyes. Roar! Sakyamuni, you have trapped me for 2,000 years, after all, you can't trap me anymore. A terrifying roar came, sweeping through the world, and the mountains were broken. The huge bubble that originally enveloped this piece of land and provided oxygen to everyone was really like a bubble, easily burst. At the critical moment, the bronze giant coffin still made a light tremor, and the fuzzy image on the bronze giant coffin wall exuded a little bit of brilliance, protecting everyone. Otherwise, under this roar, I am afraid that no one except Lin Feng will survive. The difference between the two is too great. A single drop of blood of the saint can crush a mountain and river. The two are not of the same order of magnitude at all and cannot be compared. Moreover, even with the shelter of the huge bronze coffin, several people were still bleeding from the chi orifices shook by the roar of the crocodile ancestors, and fell to the ground to faint to death. Ye Fan held the Buddha statue in his hand with an extremely serious expression. At this time, the huge bubbles surrounding this area had been destroyed, and only the light curtain on the five-color altar gave everyone a breathing space. Senior, what should we do? Even in the face of this predicament, Ye Fan never despaired, but at this time, except for Lin Feng, Ye Fan really had no other way. 9 dragons pulling the coffin is still replenishing energy, no one knows how long it will take, but what's worse is that after the roar of the crocodile ancestors, thousands of blood crocodile have gone mad, and desperately hit the light curtain emitted by the five-color altar regardless of the cost. The five-color altar has used most of its power to pull the coffin for 9 dragons. At this time, no more power can be divided to stabilize the light curtain. The light curtain keeps shrinking, only covering the core area, and the large altar is given to the blood crocodile. But even so, it won't last long. Enter the copper coffin, you can't intervene in the current battle. After Lin Feng said these words, he made a decision that no one had expected. When Lin Feng took a step, he stepped directly out of the light curtain for shelter, directly exposed to thousands of blood crocodiles. Senior! I go! 2 stunned shouts came. Ye Fan and Pang Bo were shocked. They never thought that Lin Feng was so vigorous that he would directly step out of the light curtain for shelter and face thousands of blood crocodiles. You must know that every blood crocodile is extremely difficult to deal with. Thousands of blood crocodiles swarmed up, and only a single breath time would be able to eat a bit of flesh and blood. But their worries are obviously unnecessary. Since Lin Feng dared to make a move, he naturally had a definite plan. I saw Lin Feng stepping out of the light curtain for shelter, and sure enough, thousands of blood crocodiles pounced towards Lin Feng, swift and fierce, eyes full of bloodthirsty desire. But Lin Feng just smiled coldly, the relic and bead bracelets on his wrist flickered, and several blood crocodiles flew away instantly. Immediately, Lin Feng raised the immortal Buddha lamp, and forced a drop of supreme bone blood into a breath of essence, and spit it out. Hoo! Essence met the divine flame, and it instantly turned into a 10-foot-sized divine flame that swallowed hundreds of blood crocodiles in an instant. Gee! There was a sharp and piercing sound, and hundreds of blood crocodiles that had been swallowed by flames were burnt into charred corpses. Even at the edge of the flames, some blood crocodiles rubbed the flames, and they burned to the whole body after the fire. No matter how painful they cried, they still couldn't be resolved, and they were finally ignited and turned into scorched corpses. The flames ignited on the Buddha's lamp have been burning for thousands of years and have not been extinguished. Its power is terrible. Coupled with the urging of the essence of Lin Feng's supreme bone and blood, it suddenly exerts great power. It is not the blood at all. The crocodile can stop it. The flames are like blazing flames. After burning hundreds of thousands of blood crocodiles in one breath, Lin Feng turned around and changed directions, and once again urged the flames. Hundreds of thousands of blood crocodiles were killed. The rest of the blood crocodiles also screamed strangely, forcing them to retreat. The flame power is too strong. These blood crocodiles are very afraid and dare not contaminate them. At this time, Crocodile Ancestor also stared at the crimson eyes the size of a mountain. Humph! There is no extra words, just a cold snort. Because in the eyes of Crocodile Ancestor, Lin Feng and Ye Fan are just a bunch of ants. Maybe Lin Feng is the stronger one among the ants, but he is still ants. Facing the ants, Crocodile Ancestor didn't even have the desire to spit out one more word. Is the ant, just kill it. Crocodile Ancestor has no extra thoughts, because he is indeed very strong, so strong that he is not interested in anything else. Looking at Huangyu, apart from the Buddha, the Crocodile Ancestor has never been afraid of anything, even if it is the saint next to him, he will not care. But Lin Feng also smiled slightly. His purpose has been achieved. He made 2 shots and killed more than 1,000 blood crocodiles. The 5-color altar needed energy to pull the coffin for 9 dragons, so that 9 dragons pulled the coffin and set sail again and teleport between the ancient roads in the starry sky. Although the blood crocodile died, the faint blood flowed out of their bodies, which was absorbed by the 5-color altar. This is also a kind of blood sacrifice, which can help the 5-color altar to charge faster. Finally, in the starry sky, gossip patterns appeared, and the ancient road to the starry sky opened again, and the ancient bronze coffin was trembling slightly, as if to embark on the journey. Lin Feng also flashed his figure, directly into the ancient bronze coffin. Senior, you reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Are you all right? Ye Fan and Pang Bo kept guarding the entrance and exit of the ancient coffin until Lin Feng returned. The rest of the people also retreated long ago among the ancient bronze coffins, shrank in a corner, shivering. Not to mention their strength to participate in this kind of battle, they can't even witness. Once they go out, it will be a dead end. Hey, want to go? Crocodile Ancestor gave a cold snort, stretched out his big hand covered with black scales, covering the sky with his big hand, grabbing the giant bronze coffin. All the people in the coffin, except for Lin Feng, had their complexion changed drastically. This ancient monster is so powerful, grabbing the ancient bronze coffin. Is it possible that everyone is really going to die here? But this thought just came up, and the big hand covered with black scales quickly moved back, dripping drops of golden blood, crushing one piece of land after another. What? Crocodile Ancestor made a suspicious voice, and no longer approached, because the 9 black dragons seemed to sense the soaring demon chi of Crocodile Ancestor, and the dragon aura rose all over and confronted it. And the fuzzy pattern on the surface of the bronze giant coffin is also clear. The ancient ancestors worshipped the gods of the sky, and the eyes of the people in the pattern were cold and ruthless, just for shock. Crocodile Ancestor hesitated. I don't know if I should continue to pursue it, but the Zholong pull the coffin has opened the ancient starry sky. The lid of the giant coffin was closed, completely isolating Lin Feng and others from observing the outside world. Then the 9 dragons pulled the coffin into the sky, set foot on the ancient road of the starry sky, and disappeared into the endless lonely universe. That's it, just a few small bugs. I still stay here, or I can find the celestial burial. The ancient star is fascinating, a vicissitudes of life, a dull voice sounded, gradually lowering and becoming more and more inaudible. Starry sky and ancient road, silence and darkness, eternally like this. Suddenly 9 behemoths were in front of them, pulling a giant bronze coffin, walking through the boundless universe, at extremely fast speed, and it was difficult for the saint to chase. And in the direction of this copper coffin, 7 brighter stars shone in the shape of a spoon. Baidu is the next coordinate point. Inside the copper coffin, Lin Feng is still sitting on the small copper coffin, adjusting his breath with luck. A bronze Buddha lamp was placed aside, and the big lamp flickered, bringing a vague light to the dark copper coffin. But the atmosphere in the copper coffin is still very depressing. There were only a dozen people left in the coffin at this time, and more than half of the classmates died on the ancient star Yinghuo. The blood crocodile was too terrifying for ordinary people to resist. Everyone's faces are full of horror and sadness. Although it should be late at night according to Earth time, and everyone is also very tired, they are not sleepy. Because once you close your eyes, scenes of horror will continue to emerge, the hideous blood crocodile, the classmate who died tragically in front of you, and the huge and terrifying monster crocodile ancestor. In just a few hours, their lives have changed drastically. Ye Fan and Pang Bo are close together, their complexion is also a bit complicated. Everything is really like a dream. In the copper coffin, there was a vaguely suppressed cry. Several timid girls thought of their parents and couldn't help crying. They also had a premonition in their hearts that it might be difficult to return to their hometown. And something even stranger happened. Puff! Suddenly a figure lay down directly in the corner, seeming to pass out. The crowd suddenly exploded, and after experiencing a series of events on the planet, everyone was like a frightened bird, very sensitive. Hey, how are you okay? Pangbo wanted to step forward with the Vajra in his hand. There should be no blood crocodile in the copper coffin, but this student fainted suddenly, so Pangbo did not dare to take it lightly. Ye Fan pulled Pangbo, holding the Buddha statue in his hand to investigate, but then his complexion changed. Died. Ye Fan frowned. This student had no wounds on his forehead, but his pulse was absent, his face was as white as paper, he had obviously been dead for a long time. Hearing the words, the crowd even more avoiding the corpse, retreating to a corner, not daring to step forward. The classmate had been doing well before entering the copper coffin, but suddenly died suddenly. Obviously something was shot in the copper coffin, killing one. Everyone felt anxious, and the atmosphere suddenly became terrifying. If a blood crocodile kills someone, there should be a blood hole on the forehead, but the classmate was harmless on the outside and died silently. This method of death is too weird, and everyone is extremely disturbed. What's the matter? He was alive and well before entering the copper coffin, why suddenly? Is it made by a blood crocodile? Is there a blood crocodile in the copper coffin? No, there is no blood hole on his forehead, could it be a ghost? The crowd suddenly calmed down. As soon as the word ghost was uttered, I didn't know if it was an illusion. Everyone felt that the temperature had dropped a lot. To be more careful, this giant coffin is also a coffin, which was originally used for burying the dead. Could it be said that there are really ghosts infested? Pangbo also changed his face a little, he was not afraid of dealing with blood crocodile, but the ghosts and gods were gone, and he had no bottom. Ye Fan frowned. He didn't believe in any ghosts or gods, but he didn't know what happened to his classmate. He died for nothing. When everyone was surprised and uncertain, on the small copper coffin, the immortal Buddha lamp flickered, and the light and shadow were uncertain. It was Lin Feng who got up, walked forward, approached the deceased, and probed carefully. "Senior, be careful." Lin Feng left the immortal Buddha lamp on the small copper coffin, and did not bring the bodyguard around him. Ye Fan reminded him that he was afraid that Lin Feng would encounter an accident. Lin Feng just waved his hand, motioning Ye Fan and Pang Bo to step back. Then Lin Feng opened the deceased's mouth, and a vague little blood hole appeared. Ye Fan and Pang Bo suddenly realized that the blood crocodile got in from the deceased's mouth this time, no wonder there were no injuries on the body. But suddenly, a crooked crocodile from the wound bounced out like an arrow, and went straight to Lin Feng's forehead, with an aura like a rainbow. "Senior! Be careful!" The blood crocodile got close and pounced on his face, as swiftly as lightning. Ye Fan and Pang Bo both changed their complexions. The blood crocodile was so fast and the distance was so close. Although this senior has always been unfathomable, can he stop the blood crocodile's sneak attack? But soon, Ye Fan realized that his worries were unnecessary. I saw Lin Feng swiftly put out his big hand, faster than Feng Lei, and suddenly grabbed the blood crocodile in his hand. The big hand is like steel pouring, no matter how hard the blood crocodile struggles, it still struggles. Gee! The blood crocodile made a stern and scream, and everyone felt that their eardrums were about to be pierced. Many people covered their ears in pain. They couldn't figure out why that slap-sized creature could make such a terrifying sound. Humph! Lin Feng snorted coldly, palms exerted force. The body of this blood crocodile was stronger than steel, but it was still crushed to death by Lin Feng easily. Hiss! Pang Bo widened his eyes and took a breath. The solidity of this blood crocodile is obvious to all. It can easily break the human skull. It is stronger than an iron block, but it was easily crushed to death by the predecessors. This senior is so awesome. Ye Fan was also amazed. This predecessor is very extraordinary. It is unfathomable that the pure physical force can achieve such a level. Watching the rest of the people, they were too shocked to speak. This blood crocodile has almost become a nightmare for everyone. If ordinary people don't have Buddha's protective body against them, they will undoubtedly die, and they are the most terrifying killer. But in Lin Feng's hands, it was really like a bug, easily pinched to death. Everyone was shocked, and they were even more in awe of Lin Feng. But there is a figure hidden in the crowd. Seeing this scene, there is a strange red light flashing in his eyes. It is unknown. The blood crocodile was killed, everyone was relieved, but I still checked it out. The copper coffin was said to be big or small. Since a blood crocodile can be mixed in, there is a second one, so everyone dare not care about it. After all, like Lin Feng, they can't pinch a dead blood crocodile with one hand. The copper coffin was empty. After searching for it several times, everyone found no abnormality. There should be no more blood crocodile, but everyone was still a little worried. They were scared by the blood crocodile, and they were about to search again, but Lin Feng suddenly spoke. Quiet! Lin Feng sat on the small copper coffin, showing a listening look. The unextinguishable blue light flickered, and the light reflected on Lin Feng's face, making Lin Feng a little bit extraordinary. The crowd stopped immediately, not daring to make the slightest movement, let alone making any sound. They just looked at Lin Feng with some doubts, wondering what else the predecessor, who had been silent, had discovered. It was a long while. Lin Feng was still. Ye Fan and Pang Bo looked at each other, very puzzled. Senior, what's the matter? Ye Fan is holding a Buddha statue. Did the predecessor spot the blood crocodile lurking, or is it another strange appearance? Xianyan preaching, if you can hear it, there may be great luck. In Lin Feng's arms, Bodhi was slightly hot. He sat on the small copper coffin and listened carefully. Amidst the ethereal, the sound of the avenue came faintly. The deity engraved on the small copper coffin exudes inexplicable fluctuations that ordinary people cannot capture, and even ordinary monks can't detect it, but Lin Feng can sense it with the help of Bodhi. Everyone looked at each other suspiciously. The giant coffin was empty, and everyone could not hear anything except the sound of each other's breathing. But Lin Feng's expression does not seem to be fake, and there is no reason to lie to them. Ye Fan and Pang Bo stopped talking, and sat down near the small copper coffin pan. They trust Lin Feng very much. In fact, Lin Feng doesn't have to deceive them. Yu reads www.yuyuganshu.com. So Ye Fan and Pang Bo sit together, and want to try whether they can sense anything. Everyone looked at each other. After hesitating for a moment, they all approached the small copper coffin and sat down. Although I don't know if it's useful to do this, everyone does it, and it's always right to follow it. For a moment, The huge bronze coffin was extremely quiet, everyone closed their eyes and concentrated, clearing away distracting thoughts, and understanding carefully. The way of heaven, more than damage but not enough. Lin Feng perceives the Taoist rhyme carefully. The original chanting sound is very vague, but after careful understanding, the voice gradually becomes clearer. In Lin Feng's arms, the Bodhi child became more and more hot, and the natural texture behind it faintly changed, and the original Buddha pattern became clearer. On the small copper coffin, the unquenchable Buddha lamp swayed and resonated with the Bodhi's eye. In Ye Fan's arms, the Wu Vai Buddha statue also opened the Buddha's eyes. Ye Fan's expression condensed, and he also heard some voices, although it was vague, but in the vagueness, there really is a fairy voice preaching. So, after a long time, the giant coffin was still quiet. Xianyan preached, Lin Feng's posture became more and more illusory, the scriptures taught by Xianyan were more than 100 words, expounding the avenue, and the mystery was incomparable. Although Lin Feng could not understand it for a while, he secretly remembered it and felt it carefully. Ye Fan can hear the sounds of the great avenue with no lack of Buddha statues in his hands, but he doesn't remember much, because the voice is a bit vague, only memorizing more than 30 words, but it is also very extraordinary. In fact, non-Zains cannot perceive this kind of scripture, and their realm is still too far away. Just listening to this kind of scriptures in advance is like standing in the perspective of saints or even higher existences. Listening to them to explain the Great Road is equivalent to raising the eye experience, and it will be of great benefit to the improvement of the realm in the future. This kind of benefit cannot be realized, but it is a dream of many people.